Welcome to the Building Excellence podcast. Well, my name is Dwayne Walker, and I'm one of your hosts of this podcast. And it's all about people here that's trying to help as many people as possible build excellence in some area of their life. And those that have been watching the podcast, I want to tell you, welcome back to the podcast. And so today's episode is called The Questions That Change Everything. Okay. In the previous episode, we talked about values, those guiding principles that serve as your internal compass. They serve as your belief system. They serve as your boundaries. They serve as your behaviors that help direct your decisions, and especially when life gets complicated. And trust me, life will get complicated. So when the path gets unclear, your values are what you return to. They often help you filter the noise and make wise decisions and stay anchored to your truths and the things that you believe. So today, we're going to build on that foundation with a set of perspective shifting questions. These are questions that can literally change everything. They've changed everything for me, and I pray they change everything for you. They can change everything in your relationships, your priorities. They can change how you're able to live out your purpose. They can change how you're able to produce results. They can literally change your life. And I'm telling you, these questions have changed my life in dramatic ways. See, I'm a builder. I own a construction company called Cosmopolitan Construction. And people ask me all the time, like, how did you do this? Like, how did you get here? And I'm telling you, the answer lies in the questions that you're going to hear today. So listen, these questions are designed to help you. My hope is that these questions will expose maybe hidden drivers that you don't like or that you didn't know that were driving you. My hope is that they check your internal compass and help you see how your compass aligns with your external outcomes. I hope that these questions help align your motivations with your truth, and I pray they align with humility and purpose. I also pray it helps you uncover any hidden values and patterns that might be sending you down a path that's going to make you have a head-on collision with unnecessary chaos. So let's get started. These are the questions that change everything. They changed everything for me. And again, I pray they change everything for you. All right, let's dive in. So these first questions are time questions, okay? These questions are designed to help you uncover truths and maybe best practices about how you need to spend your time. So the first question is this: what gets my best energy every day? And should it? That question was a phenomenal question that was asked to me, and that I learned to begin to help lead and guide my daily decisions on how I use my time. Like, there was a season in my life that things were getting the best of my time that really shouldn't. Like, I'm best in the mornings. I'm a morning person. And so the things that require like the best energy of my mind, the best outcomes of my energy, I gotta put at a time of day where I'm at my best. And so it's really good for you to ask yourself, what gets the best energy every day, and should it? The next question about time is this: is it true that what I value most, I make time for? And does my daily schedule reflect what I truly value most? Guys, when I answered that question, the answer to that was a couple of things. One, is it true that what I value most, that I should make time for? Absolutely. But whenever I looked at my schedule, there were a whole bunch of things that I didn't value as much that was getting a large chunk of my schedule. And when I looked at the things that I valued most, they weren't getting enough. It wasn't getting enough. So you know what I did? I changed my schedule. So I pray that you're able to answer that question for yourself, do a self-evaluation, and then hopefully make the changes necessary so that the things you value most, you give time to. All right, the next question is this: what needs to come off my plate to make room for what matters most? Or what are the things I say are important, but don't actually make time for? Another question is, what am I giving my time to? And if I change nothing, will it help me reach my dreams and my purpose? I love that last question because when I think about the things I need to give my time to in order for me to reach my dreams and purpose, that really puts things into context for me. Because when I think about my dreams, I have dreams about things I want for my family, things I want for my career, things that I believe God wants to do through me. So when I look at those things, I have to ask myself this question: what are some things I got to do with my time to make those things happen? And so I love that question. I pray that you let that marinate and you come up with some very specific answers for yourself that are going to help you reach your dreams and purpose with your time. All right, guys, now let's shift gears. So I want to talk about growth and purpose questions now. These questions are designed to help you think about, am I making decisions that are going to propel me to grow as a man or as a woman or as a leader, as a mom or a dad or a husband or a wife? Am I growing? Next thing that I hope these questions help you do is, am I putting myself in position to be able to reach my purpose? All right, here are a few questions that changed my life. First one is this: where does my self worth come from? I have to stop here for a moment because this almost ruined my life all by itself. When I stopped and answered that question truthfully, my self worth came from pleasing people. My self worth came from people cheering me on. Like, I was an athlete growing up and I had a hard time giving that up. Whenever I was unable to perform on the field, I had an identity crisis. I was asking myself, why am I valuable? And then when I began to answer that question, that, okay, that I'm valuable because the Lord says I'm valuable. I'm bought with a price. I'm put on this earth for a purpose and on purpose. When I began to get my self worth from Him, that began to propel me into His purpose and destiny. But still, there was a hidden root that I didn't expose, and that is, but I still wanted to please people. So when people were asking me to do things, or whenever there was pressure being put on by another person, instead of me making decisions out of what was best, I was actually making decisions out of what would please that person. And it also derailed my path. So I think it really is very important that every one of us answer the question, where does my self-worth come from? So then when things try to take front seat in that self-worth driver's seat, that you can kick them out because you've already answered that question, that my self-worth doesn't come from pleasing people. My self-worth doesn't come from needing everybody to give me an applause. Those were the things that tried to get in my front seat. What are the things that are trying to get in your front seat? Answer that question so you can keep the wrong things from driving your self-worth. Okay, the next question is this: am I the smartest person in my friend group? Man, that was a question that changed my life too. Because once I realized that I was the smartest person in my group, I quickly understood that I was stunting my growth, because I do believe that if there's nobody in my circle that's smarter than me, whether it's my friends or whether it's at work, then I'm all the decisions rely on me, and I know I'm not smart enough to make all the decisions. I truly believe that the best decisions come out of collaboration, that the best decisions come from people who are smarter than you, being an expert in a topic, being able to give you insight and wisdom to help you make the best decision as a leader. All right, here's the next question: do I embrace conflict or run from it? And if I run, can I still become the best version of myself? Well, guys, when it comes to conflict, I tell you this: I don't like it. I don't like conflict. It makes me uncomfortable. I I wish that I didn't have to deal with conflict, but I understood very quickly when I answered those questions that conflict is unavoidable. If I avoid conflict, I'm actually going to avoid the sharpening that I need in order to become the best version of myself. Like, there's a scripture that says that iron sharpens iron, and so a friend sharpens a friend. I truly believe that scripture really for all aspects of life. I believe that I need people in my life that are going to sharpen me, that are going to make me better. And sometimes sparks are going to fly because I'm going to be passionate. They're going to be passionate. And it's important that I embrace those moments so that I can become better and maybe even another person can become better too. Also, there's going to be times where people are going to, I'm going to just say, try to push your boundaries. They're going to try to push you into spaces that you don't belong. And so your only choice is to either push back, okay, or allow yourself to go into spaces that are going to maybe ruin your peace, ruin your purpose, ruin your calling, put you in places where you can actually get in trouble, meaning you can get arrested. You because again, if, wrong time, wrong place is a real thing. Okay, so it is important that we all figure out: A, is conflict avoidable? I don't think it is. And then can you become the best version of yourself avoiding it? I don't think you can. But that's me. You got to answer that question for yourself. All right. Next question is kind of in the same vein. It's this: is being uncomfortable a bad thing? When I answered that question, I profoundly understood that I need to stop trying to make myself comfortable. Because the second question I asked myself is, so why do I chase comfort so much? Because I do believe when we're uncomfortable, that is when we grow the most. I don't believe we grow in comfortable situations. I actually believe we grow in the most uncomfortable ones. Think back whenever you grew in any aspect of life, was it comfortable? When I think about whenever my parents were disciplining me, that wasn't comfortable. Whether it was a whooping or a coaching, that wasn't comfortable. When I think about being an athlete, being coached by my coach, was that comfortable? Absolutely not. When I remember being coached at work, was that comfortable? Absolutely not. Whether it was my leader or a coworker or somebody who worked for me, I get coaching in all directions, and none of it's ever comfortable. But you know what? I grew. I got better. And so that's why I think that being uncomfortable is actually a good thing because it's going to squeeze you and whatever's in you is going to come out. And if whatever comes out you don't like, it gives you an opportunity to change. All right, let me go to the next question. Is pressure a bad thing? In one of my favorite books, John Maxwell talks about pressure being a privilege. So I don't think that pressure is a bad thing. I think pressure is a good thing. But it's very important for you to answer that question for yourself. Is pressure a bad thing? Because, like conflict, many of us run from pressure. I think that if you have goals in life, if you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, not to quote the lyric, I just love that language. If you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, then I do believe that making a difference creates pressure. It creates pressure in your schedule. It creates pressure in your mind. It creates pressure in relationships. It creates pressure in decision making. Like so much pressure comes from responsibility. And so just know that if you're feeling pressure, that is a privilege. But the question is what do you do about it? So the pressure is never designed to crush. So if pressure becomes crushing, then you need to ask for help. How do I not allow this pressure to crush me? But it's still a privilege that I have pressure. All right, let's go to the next question. It's this: what are the three most important habits I must do daily or weekly to become the person I want to be? Habits are incredibly important. And it was very important for me to stop and pause and ask myself, what habits, what three things will change my life? If I do these three things, of course I can do more than three, and I've since then added more than three, but I did start with three. The first thing that was incredibly important for me was I definitely need to make sure that I had a daily quiet time. A daily quiet time is something that if I don't do it, my entire life will explode. My daily quiet time allows me to center myself with Jesus. It allows me to center my thoughts, center my minds, and recalibrate my mind daily and not allow myself to be led by emotions or feelings or being tired or what I got on the agenda today. And another thing that it was so important for me is as a daily discipline is I need to make sure I write everything that I got to get done down. I A short pencil is better than a long memory. That one habit has changed everything for me. I needed to, if I think about it, I write it down. And every day I prioritize, okay, what am I getting done today? What am I getting done today? What am I getting done today? That was another big one. All right, the third thing is this is I made time for whatever mattered most every single day. And what I mean by that is I put in I calendar every meeting, and I actually calendar time that I need to spend with people, whether it's my family, whether it's my children or spouse, you name it. Whatever time I need for myself in order to be the person that God is calling me to be, and to put the right things at the right time. I had to put that on my calendar and just believe that I just got to give my best every day and God can handle the rest. I truly believe that his power is made perfect in my weakness. And so whenever I'm supposed to end the day, here's what I end the day. And Lord, you got it. So those are my three things that I needed to do in order to change everything. You answer that. What are your top three things? All right, all right. Let's switch topics now. Next, let's go to the more of a leadership and relationship questions. It can also help you in your parenting. And here are the questions. The first one is this: how do I make people feel? That question, man, it has changed how I interact with everybody every single day. I begin my interactions with every person answering this question: how do I want to make them feel today? Before I walk into a room, I've answered that question. Before I have a conversation with you, I have that question. Before I text you, I'm answering that question. You name it, any people that I'm dealing with, I'm asking myself, how do I want to make them feel? And if you truly answer that question, it just takes 2 seconds. Whoop, I want them to feel like this. If you truly answer that question before you engage in any type of interpersonal communication, I'm telling you, it will change relationships the rest of your life. It's gonna help you decide what to say, when you talk, when you don't, how you talk, when you don't, your tone, your feel, everything. How do I want to make them feel? Don't want them to feel loved. Don't want them to feel that I'm for them. Don't want them to feel disciplined. Do I want them to feel uh, that I have their back? Do I want them to feel they're winning? Do I actually want them to feel that they made a mistake? Do I want them to feel that mistakes are okay? I mean, once you answer that question, I'm telling you, it's going to shift everything. It's going to really help you lead your relationships in a way to get predetermined outcomes that you made by your own values of how you actually want them to feel. So here's the next question: do I allow others to take the lead? Do I allow people to make mistakes? Those two questions I like to take together because as a leader or as a parent, or even as in any kind of relationships, you can ask yourself a question like, do I allow people to take the lead? Do I let them lead sometimes? And if not, you got to ask yourself why. Like, I don't want to lead all the time. I mean, that's really controlling, and I don't want to be that kind of person. There was a season where that was what I did. I just tried to control everything. I wanted to everything to be exactly how I wanted it. But I quickly learned, this is for me, that if I control everything, that's going to be a really small purpose, because the larger the team, the larger the impact. And so, when it comes to the workplace, 80% is good enough. Nobody is going to do it exactly like I can do it. And even if I did it, is mine the best? But I don't know. And then another one is, is it okay to make mistakes? I want everybody to feel like it's okay to make mistakes. Why? Because I make them too. It is so funny. I used to lead in a way where I was so mad when everybody else made mistakes, but I wanted a lot of grace when I made mine. Okay. I just want you to process that. Are you there? Then one of the things that helped me was, you know what? I want to give others the same grace that I want whenever I make mistakes. All right, the next question is this: do others feel like I value their perspective? Do I ask thoughtful questions? Am I a good listener? Man. So the key word in that question is, do I make others feel like I value their perspective? So it isn't what I think, it's what do they think. So every once in a while, I actually ask people, do you feel like I have your perspective? Do you feel like I heard you? Is this what you're saying? Like, those are great questions, follow up questions before you move on to what you want to say. And also, every single time I'm watching body language, because when people don't feel like they have their perspective heard, their body usually tells you, okay, I actually do want to understand their perspective. Why? Because I have a value and a conviction of I actually care. I want you to know that I care. I want to, if there's something I can do to help you, I want to help you. If I can bear with you, if I can help carry the load, I want to do that. And I actually do want you to think that I'm a good listener. Why is that? Because I believe if you think I'm a good listener, then you believe that I value you. I have understood in humanity that humans actually love to be heard and they hate to be interrupted. They hate to not be heard. And so if I truly value people, I truly want to make sure that I listen to them in a way that makes them feel valued. But you, please, please listen. I mean, you ask that question yourself. And once you answer that question, make the necessary changes in your life and leadership to produce the outcomes you want. The next question is kind of tied to it. And one of my favorite leaders on the planet, he trained me in this. He said, Dwayne, it's very important that you ask yourself this question. Do you seek to understand or do you just seek to be understood? There was a season of my life where I thought I knew everything, y'all. Nobody could tell me nothing. And I do my best to try to stay out of that quicksand as much as I can because I really don't want to be understood. I actually do want to understand. I understand that there are more perspectives than my perspective in life, and also know that two people can see the exact same thing and have two different perspectives, and either one of them are wrong. They're just two different perspectives. So the question is do I seek to understand or do I just want to be understood? I do want to understand. Understanding requires listening. And then after that, compassionately making sure they understand that I listened. And then communicating my point of view and perspective and seeing how it lands. One of my favorite questions I like asking after a collaboration or a talk is, how does that hit you? What are your thoughts on that? Then it really helps people to A, make sure that we've heard each other, and then B, in a soft way, be able to align our perspectives if our perspectives are misaligned. Another question I love to ask myself is this: would I rather be right more than being at peace with someone I love? And I'll tell you this: I don't want to be right more than being at peace with somebody that I love. I want to value love over being right. That's where I am. And so I'm going to do my best to do that. So you please answer that question for yourself too. Another great question is this is what boundaries must I create to protect my peace and what matters most? I will say this, it was very important for me to answer this question so that I can lead in a way that I want to lead every single day. Guys, I'm a person that I want to have joy every single day. I want to lead with purpose every single day. I want to lead and have peace every single day. And I quickly was able to recognize through answering this question that it was very important for me to create boundaries. So there are people and things in life that want to steal your joy. They want to steal your purpose. They want to just literally steal your life. It could be things as simple as drugs. It could be alcohol. It could be people. It could be boyfriend, girlfriend, friendships. It could be family. You name it. There are bad things out there that if you don't put the appropriate boundaries in place, if you don't protect your peace, then it'll steal it. Another great question is if you don't protect your peace, who will? Process that. Is there anybody on the planet going to protect your peace if you don't? So, guys, boundaries are important. Boundaries don't mean you don't love someone. You just need to love them in a way that's going to allow you to protect your peace and be the person that you need to be. And many times, sometimes protects them from themselves as well. Another great question was, what do I want my children or my closest friends to say about me after I'm gone? Guys, this was a life question that helped me to pre-decide whenever I'm gone, what do I want people to say at my funeral? What do I want my friends and my family to feel whenever they're in the bedroom by themselves? My answers to those questions are literally determining how I lead right now today. What do I want my children to say about me? Guys, I'm telling you, when you answer that question, it really will shape how you lead today. All right, next, let's shift to friendship questions. One of the best leaders on the planet in my life told me this quote for the first time. He said, Dwayne, show me your friends, and I'm going to show you your future. What I say in my household is bright friends are bright future, bad friends are a bad future. And so, if you believe in that quote, if you believe in what I just said, then this question is a very important, very big and important one. Are the people around me helping me rise? Or are they holding me back? Man, it is so important you take inventory of your friends. And if they're helping you rise, keep them close. Pour into that relationship. Make sure that relationship is reciprocal. Reciprocal means that that you are giving to that relationship just as much as you want them to give back to you. You don't ever want that relationship to be unbalanced. Okay. And if they aren't helping you and they're holding you back, you got to begin making the tough decisions in the most life giving way possible. Begin to put boundaries in place of that relationship. Another great question is this: do I have anyone close to me who disagrees with me, who sharpens me? Guys, if you don't have people in your life that are disagreeing with you, that are sharpening you, then I'm telling you, you need to find someone who will. The last thing I want to be is somebody who's wise in their own eyes, but yet I'm a fool in public. I don't want to be an emperor with no clothes on. Like there's always a me that we can't see. And I need people around me that will tell me about the me that I can't see so that I can be the best me that I can be. I didn't mean for all that to rhyme, but it did. So I pray that you guys really, really, really take inventory of your friendships and ask yourself, is there anybody that's disagreeing with me today? And then I'm telling you, if you actually begin to look for somebody who has similar values as you and is that loves you enough to speak the truth in love, man, when you actually start looking for it, you're going to find it and then hold on to that relationship. And this next question is a question that many of us know the answer to, but it is important for us to say it so you can answer it and it could be fuel for you to do something about it. And that is, does bad company corrupt good character? The answer to that is yes, at least from my perspective. And so let that be fuel for you to do the things you need to do to create boundaries for any company that you believe is going to corrupt your good character. And another good question that I want to ask after that is if I look at my friends and the results they're currently producing in their life, would I be happy if my life ended up the same way? Man, guys, this really was fuel to help me make sure that I begin to separate myself from people who are not producing the results I want and begin putting myself around people who are producing the results that I want. It is never easy putting boundaries in place with friends. However, I'm telling you, if you have dreams, if you have ambitions, if you're trying to reach your purpose, it really is important for you to say, man, who are the people I need around me so I can go reach that purpose? So if I do look at my friends and they're not producing the results that I want, I have to ask myself this critical question next, and that is, why am I investing so much time there? There needs to be a clear why. And honestly, I used to be there. My why was because they were my friends from childhood, because I loved them so much. because it's fun hanging around them. Like those are my reasons. And there are times that you got to choose between love and fun and purpose. Sometimes they can coexist, but I do want you to understand sometimes they can't. And honestly, the biggest issue is time. And then the second biggest issue typically is, well, if they're producing results that are bad, then bad company corrupts good character. So then that principle becomes to live out in your own life. And so I did have to begin to shift, even though I didn't want to. But it was what was best for me, my family, and the purpose that God has me on. And so this next question is this is what are some reasons I might need to draw boundaries or end a relationship altogether? I think it's so important for us to pre-decide. Here are reasons why I would need to put boundaries around a relationship. Here are reasons why I would need to end a relationship. There are reasons for everybody to do that, but it is important for you to pre-decide. So when those circumstances come up, you don't fumble the ball staying in a relationship that you know you shouldn't be in. Okay, next, let's dive into integrity questions. These questions hit core to your compass. They hit core to mine. The first one is, who am I when no one's watching? And does that version of me help me reach my dreams and my purpose? Guys, there was a time in my life where I was a person that whenever I was around people, I would live my life straight and narrow. And when I wasn't around people, I might do a little bit of this or do a little bit of that, you know, compromise my character, compromise my integrity, small this, small that. It ain't that big a deal, is what I thought. And honestly, at the time, I could easily justify those things not being a big deal. But when I answer this question, those things are tremendous deals. So that's what helped me to embrace the idea of what is done in the dark will eventually come into light. Because you compromising your character once makes it easier for you to compromise your character the second time, then the third time, then the fourth time. It becomes a character compromise snowball. And I needed to put an end to that. So I threw that snowball on the ground, I stepped on it. And now every single day, I do my best to whatever I do in public is the same thing that I do in private. Because I do want my private life to align with my public life. And I want to make sure that both of those lives will help me accomplish my purpose, my destiny, and my dreams. Okay, the next question is, do my habits and work ethic position me for success? I think all of us need to ask ourselves is, if I continue doing the same habits, will this position me to win at whatever area of life I'm trying to win in? And the next question I want to ask is if nothing changes, will nothing change? I truly believe in that quote. That is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So we got to ask ourselves that question. So if I actually want to be successful, but the habits I am currently living out won't produce that success, and I don't change, then I'm not going to be successful. If nothing changes, nothing changes. The next great question I love to throw out there is, what standards define me? Even when no one's watching, what do I live by? Will I do the right thing even when it's hard? Am I willing to lose approval in order to stay true to my purpose and convictions? Those three questions I like to put together because they truly, truly strike at the core of who you are, defining who you are, and will you stand up for it? Will you be it? So good. All right. Well, let me go ahead and transition to now more to life questions. So these are just questions that I hope just help you just in your overarching view of how you approach life. The first question is this: what's the result I want from my life? What's the results I want from my marriage, my family, my friendships? What results do I want in my workplace? What results do I want in my finances? I do think it's very important that we think about the results we want in every single one of those areas. Because when we think about the results that we want in those areas, and we actually put a bullseye around those, that bullseye actually begins to be a compass for us. It helps shape our decisions. It helps shape our habits. It actually helps us understand when we're outside the boundaries. So take some time to process that question. Another great one is, what behaviors will produce those results? Or what does a life well lived actually look like for me? And if I stay on my current path, where will I be in 5 years? Where will I be in 10 years? Shoot, where will I be next year? So, what distractions or habits are stealing or keeping me from my destiny? And am I willing to remove them? Those are really, really great questions I love to ask in sequential order because they really help me just shape my life compass. So if I say yes to my purpose, what will I need to say no to? Whew, that's a phenomenal question for life as well. And as soon as you say yes to your purpose, you're automatically saying no to a bunch of things that won't help you accomplish your purpose. So take time to say, all right, if I say yes to what I'm supposed to produce in my life, to my wiring, my gifts, my talents, so if I say yes to what the Lord has for me, then what do I need to say no to? Pre-decide that today. It's going to make saying no much easier tomorrow. Another great question is, who am I becoming? We're all in the process of becoming something. Every day we're becoming a better and better something. So who am I becoming? And what kind of legacy will I leave? I love this verse in the Bible that says you can judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. So when I look at my fruit, what kind of tree am I? And do I like it? I do think it's important for you to answer that question because if you don't like the fruit you're producing, mm, let's change the things that are producing that fruit. Another phenomenal question that has changed everything for me was anytime I don't like a result in any area of life, one of my favorite leaders told me this: Dwayne, what could you do differently to get a different result? At the time, I would give some more excuses. Well, if this would happen, if he would do this or she would do that, he said, okay, I understand all that. What could you do different to get a different result? Like, well, but if he did this and she did that, but if this was like this, man, everything would have worked perfect. He's like, I get all that. I get that he was crazy and she did you wrong. What could you have done differently to get a different result? No matter how difficult it is to answer that question and to shut out the noise of all the different excuses you can make, once you actually say, okay, I'm going to ask that question, I'm going to answer that question, I'm telling you, it's going to make you a much better person, a much better leader. And you're going to just embrace an extreme ownership mentality. It's going to help you take hold of all of your future decisions instead of giving your success away to what others may do or what others may not do. Man, phenomenal, phenomenal question. Now, here's another one. What's more important to me? Purpose and peace or pleasing people? Guys, you got to answer that question because, in my opinion, you can't have both purpose or peace or pleasing people. All right. All right. Now we're coming to the finale. These are chaos questions. So, why do I call them chaos questions? Because, y'all, life's going to happen. We can't avoid chaos, but what we can control is how we respond to it. Because how you respond reveals who you really are. So let's dive into some of these questions that I think is so important for you to pre-decide and process now, because chaos is coming. Here's the first one. When those you love betray you, how do you respond? Here's another one. When you make a mistake, how do you respond? How do you treat yourself? What do you think? What's your self-talk look like? When someone you love or follow makes a mistake, what's your response? When someone doesn't meet your expectations, what's your response? We all know ain't nobody on the planet gonna meet all our expectations. But for some reason, sometimes because we don't answer this question, we're surprised and shocked and we act out of character. Let's pre-decide. What will I do when somebody doesn't meet my expectations? Here's another one. When someone lies on you or attacks you, how do you respond? When you didn't get the job, or you didn't make the team, or you didn't reach the goal, how will you respond? Those are things are going to happen. What does that self-talk look like? Pre-decided right now. When you do reach the goal, when you do win, how do you celebrate? And who do you want to become afterwards? Whew. Have you ever seen somebody who won and became somebody different? I think it's important to pre-decide. When you win that $1 million, when you get that $1 million, when you earn that $1 million, who are you going to be? When you reach that goal, when you accomplish that mission, who are you going to be? Well, guys, I hope some of these questions were thought-provoking. I pray that they were purpose, just purpose questions that help clear out the noise and shine a bright light to paths that are going to lead to your purpose. These are call to action questions I want to leave you with. I want us to shift from thought to action. So here's a few questions I want to leave you with. Do I know how to change, or am I just hoping things get better? Please answer that question for yourself. If you do know how, am I willing to change for 14 days? Here's the question you're asking yourself. If I do know how to change, am I willing to challenge myself for 14 days and prove it? And if I don't know how to change, am I willing to get help right now? If so, my prayer is, if you can change, you do it. Challenge yourself for the next 14 days. And if you can't, that you ask for help. Another question that's a call to action question for you to do something with right now is, what are the non-negotiable standards I must start living by right now today? What would it look like to live with the audacity and the relentless focus right now, this week, by living out those habits? Well, here's the final thought before I leave you today, and that is this. I just hope that these questions are things that you write down and that you deeply process. I pray that you deliberately answer these questions, and I'm telling you, they will change everything. You don't get to simply choose your circumstances. You don't get to choose your purpose or your future, but you do get to choose your attitude, your time, your decisions, and your behaviors. It is those things that will shape your future. So family, let's begin with the end in mind. Let's choose our results and then become the kind of person who lives in a way that produces it. All right, see you guys next time.